Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Do Nothing Project, where we gather together as a community to do nothing. We offer a technique. We try to keep on the side of being accessible, really going to the essence of simplicity. And I'm super honored to be a guest host for the Wednesday edition. Thank you very much, Jeff, for inviting me to do that. And we'll offer up a 25-minute practice. I'll give you a little bit of framing around how I came up with the idea for the technique. And then we'll have a little bit of time at the end, not much, but just maybe for reports. So because in essence, I'm a meditation coach, not a meditation teacher. So I'm not going to be as likely to answer some of those deep end questions that maybe Jeff would. And then also the Do Nothing Project, we're kind of shifting a bit for how we do the format. And so I don't know how much we'll do questions at the end. So about me, my name is Andrew Lenards. I'm dialing in from Tucson, Arizona, which is sort of kind of a cool hotspot for meditation, if you will. And I'm a meditation coach trained in the Unified Mindfulness System, which is really a codification of the system of mindfulness around Shinzen Young's teachings. Shinzen is a root teacher for Jeff, and then his skills-based approach has had a dramatically significant influence on Jeff's framing of the common language that we've been talking a lot about. So this idea of concentration, clarity, equanimity, or the smoothness muscle, and then care. And I think the care aspect is really something remarkably important right now. And so today's techniques are going to focus on equanimity and care. So I'm also role reversal here. I'm normally over, well, there or maybe there for you, one of those sides in the chat window, answering questions and saying hi and everything else. Now I'm getting to experience the overwhelm that can be for everyone saying hi and checking in. But it's super awesome to be able to see everyone coming in and checking in from wherever they're at. I don't know if we have Johnny from Norway. I think Norway might be our furthest away usual check-in. So what we're going to do in the time we have together today is I've been doing long walks, I've been listening to an audiobook from Will Storr about the science of storytelling and sort of the notion or utility of narrative, especially in times where you find that you're struggling. And that doesn't have to be like situations that we're in right now, but the actual the way that you can draw from a story, where the story doesn't have to be perfect. There can be issues with that story, but I can pick out of those aspirational things that can really bring a life or a quality to my practice by kind of plucking those out. And I combined this notion of the science of storytelling, where Jeff had a recent episode, The Wolf Dog, really how we draw on story so much. And so the idea for this, in essence, came out of what are aspirational characters for me. Like, can I look at crafting a technique around the positive qualities of an individual? And so for me, there's a sort of ambassador of chill for me in general, and that is Jeffrey Lebowski, the dude, or El Duderino, if you're not into the whole brevity thing. And the dude is really kind of an imperfect character. There's definitely problems or things that you could imagine from the whole movie of The Big Lebowski, but there's some great aspects within The Big Lebowski that you can kind of pluck out. And so the dude also has had a lot of comparisons to Taoist thinking and also Zen thinking, so much so that Jeff Bridges, who plays the dude, developed a friendship with Bernie Glassman, or Bernie Glassman Roshi. The product of that friendship was a book called The Dude and the Zen Master. And so I came kind of back to this idea of, like, what are aspects, or how can we bring this relaxed kind of easygoingness from the dude and pull that in. And I noticed there was a particular scene where the dude has a moment of insight. He realizes that his thinking about what was going on, this case, the missing wife of the big Lebowski, of the real Lebowski. And he realized his thinking had been very uptight. And he had this kind of moment of insight. And in that moment of insight, he brought about this kind of aspect of true kind of care, where he didn't decide to beat himself up about it or anything else. It was just this realization, oh, wow, my thinking has been really uptight around this. And now, why, like, oh, I couldn't believe, like kind of this aha moment. And so he had a moment where he could have kind of done like a self-flagellation or like beat himself up about it, but he didn't. And he really just sort of honored the realization and that his thinking was uptight, and then kind of moved forward. And I really thought that was a remarkably poignant. It's a very small scene, very, very small scene. But in watching the movie recently, because I've got some time on my hands, I saw that and I thought, wow, what a massive teaching in what would be an inconsequential interaction for a lot of people. And so there's this idea, I believe it's that kind of how we make things good or bad, or by making something bad we have a good, or by making something good we have a bad. And you'll see that at least in Greek thought, there's this idea that there really is no good or bad. It's just beneficial or not beneficial. And so given that the dude and Taoism comes up, I thought I would grab just a quick line out of the Tao Te Ching graphic novel edition, of course, because I want to keep it light and accessible. Everybody understands the good to be good, but only creates the concept of bad. So there's this is just from passage 2, book 1, and there's a long aspects of these good and bad, beautiful, ugly. And so this idea that we're going to do nothing, that's where we're headed. But as we do nothing, in essence, like new shit will come to light, and we may have something come up for us. And in a sort of if-then planning, can we be able to abide in a way where we're not sort of bracing more against it? And be like, oh, that's, like, oh, I'm uptight around this. In like, oh, I've been carrying sort of this weight in my shoulder, and being able to just notice and then not really worry about whether it goes away, but it's more of just a sort of being with that aspect. So I can abide in the tightness. Tightness doesn't have to go away. If I'm uptight about something, the tightness is in the body, or if I'm uptight in my thinking, from the example. So that's kind of where we're headed. We'll do 25 minutes. We'll finish with a friendliness practice. And let me think. I've got notes because I was like, I'm going to forget to say something. As always, if you have a go-to practice, you can always do that and stick with that. And then just as an aspect, we'll kind of, while I'm sort of setting us up, we're going to go ahead and start. I'll ring. I've got a bell. We'll ring a bell here in a second, but I do want to give you a little bit of notion of if you want to prepare kind of your spot. If you've noticed, if you spend time with your dog or your cat, they kind of nest and settle in and kind of circle around before they really sit down. So I'll give you a little bit of time to settle in. Actually, I should check with chat. Okay. Thank you, Lily and Jeff. And then this is really awesome, the role reversal, to have Jeff also moderating. So I appreciate the IMDb links as well. Lily rocking the blue font, Jeff with the yellow font. Yeah, so this is from a local printer too, by the way, here in Tucson. Okay, so again, as always, if you have your own go-to practice, you're welcome to kind of put me in the background and kind of treat me as like bird noise or any other kind of sort of low-level phenomenon. And then I just want to give you a warning that I'm going to ring the bell. So I have 10 minutes past the hour. We'll meditate until about 35 minutes past the hour. All right, as we begin, we're gonna set up our body and our posture in a way that'll help us to abide. So ideally, we want to adopt a posture that's gonna help us support a relaxed, alert state. Ideally, that's going to be an upright torso. We lengthen our spine if possible, not being too sort of tense around it, and then kind of settle in. You may find that you want to sort of swing side to side a little in a metronome kind of action to sort of find a good balance point. And as we're arriving here on our seat, we're kind of doing that notion of settling in. Or as your pets may do, they nest a little, sort of settle into this area. And I have a little bit of a pre-flight checklist. So I check to see if my shoulders are over my hips, my nose is aligned with my navel, my ears over my shoulders. And with posture done, check that off. Before I begin, we go ahead and do a little check in for whether we have any tension in the neck or the shoulders, around the jaw, maybe the eyes, the forehead. So sort of start from the shoulders up to the head, and then from the head back down. So with that checked off, the last is a few deep breaths. It really helps complete that arriving. So with the breath in, there's a slight raise. And the breath out, there's a settling. And the breath in, body raises a little. Breath out, we settle in. And as we elongate that out breath, we capture the downward motion. It's like a slipstream settling in. So as we arrive, we can just set this spot as a place, as sort of a waypoint. For some of you, you may want to stay here and go nowhere else. And this is a deep practice in and of itself. Just being here, being a body. Meditation's not a game, but if it was, just sitting here in this spot, in this position, you've already won. So before we begin the arduous task of doing nothing, you may want to check in and do a little snapshot. Take a reading from the how it isness instrument. So how is it right now? Is it buzzy? Is it scattered? It doesn't have to be settled. We don't have to be calm. You can just be here. All right. One last thing, and then we'll let you be for a second. So we'll go ahead and switch to letting go of any technique. Just with the notion that if we find some uptightness, check it out, let it be. And as we check it out, it might release, might stay the same, might tighten a bit. And then we just abide. So as we settle in, the opposite of calm can come up. And again, that's okay. So you may want to focus on sounds around you as an option. Allowing the sounds, if possible. Can also ground in maybe the feet or the hands. There's often a sensation that's neutral. This is your first time trying out a do nothing practice. You may find that the body goes to the breath or goes to the body, sort of picks up the practice you're used to doing. And that's okay too. It's actually a sign of the body sort of cluing in, this is a time to do meditation. So you can try to drop that technique, but if the body keeps picking that up or the breath is really interesting, you can always shift and go with that. Good. So as you settle in, again, you might notice your breath. It's sort of slight rising, settling. And you might take another reading of the how it isness quality. What's it to seek? As you sit, you may want to check in with your posture. I tend to hunch over. My shoulders tend to climb up towards my ears. So no, we can always do a little of that rock side to side, that metronome action. You can stretch up and settle in. You can do that over and over. Using our if-then planning, you might start to get a little sleepy, a little drowsy. If you've already checked in with your posture and you're still feeling drowsy, you can always open the eyes if they've been closed. Dropping your gaze is helpful to avoid visual distraction. Know that it's normal to be lost in thought, coming back. And in the coming back, can we model the dude? Think, I was lost in thought. And celebrate that realization. You can come back, nothing to do, nowhere to go. Letting go of technique. Or we can always pick up and utilize a technique and shift practice if we don't feel resourced. So the sounds around us, can we allow them to be part of our practice? Can we notice when we're uptight around the sounds? Bracing, clenching, knowing that's a protective action. And seeing just if we can get this settled position, this mature stance, flexing that inner smoothness muscle. Good. Hang in there a bit. Just a couple more minutes and we'll shift to a friendliness practice. You may want to do another check-in. That'll be our third of this sit. Considering the how it isness. Being open to the opposite coming up. It's frustrating, but possible. At the end of the sit, you may find that you've got almost a on guard or vigilance. It's possible. So with the time left before we switch practice to friendliness, see if sort of be with that vigilance, or when you check that out, if it stays the same, relaxes, tenses, it's all good. Awesome work. So as we normally do, we finish with a friendliness practice. We'll shift our stance, we'll be more active. So we're kind of picking up this active cultivation of kind of a positive vibe, And there's this notion that that whenever we sit, there's merit generated. And part of the friendliness practice is to pass that merit on as soon as possible. So we don't hold on to it for ourselves. As soon as we generate it, we give it away. So it's sort of like someone passed you a basketball and you immediately pass it to someone else. So whoever comes to mind with a spirit of giving and well wishes, not attached to outcome, consider someone that things are tough for. And the phrases we use to embody that, catching and passing the ball off to them, you can use traditional phrases that you find in loving kindness. May you be well. May you be happy. May you live with ease. May you find all the items on your grocery list. So the active quality is visualizing that person to the best of your ability. Or just cultivating a spirit around feeling of that person. And then we offer the phrases. May you be well. May you be happy. May you live with ease. And we can rotate people, bring someone else to mind. Visualize them to the best of your ability. Cultivate a sense, a feeling sense of that person. And then offer them the phrases. May you be well. May you be happy. May you live with ease. May your hand soap never run out. So we just continue this active sharing of delights, well wishes, completely removed from the outcome. These well wishes are free. You can offer them. There's no shortage. And finally, let's offer these phrases to ourselves. So we've passed along the merit. We've offered positive vibes and well wishes to those that need it around us, and keep a little well wishes for ourselves. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. May I flourish as I shelter in place. As we offer the phrases to ourselves, it may be difficult. Just know that that's a possibility. If you haven't done this practice before, it's worth going through the motions of it. And it's okay to go through the motions here too. So may I be happy. May I be helpful. May I live with ease. May I flourish as I stay at home. And then a final pause before I ring the bell. Just let the feeling that you've made time for yourself, that you've sat in the spot, that you've been present for a sit, just let that soak in. What a great act of kindness that is for yourself. Big humanities bow to everybody. And I don't know if you're able to hear sounds like I live next to a yoga studio, which I guess is sort of an idea that I think all our homes have become both a gym, a yoga studio, for some of us, school, a workplace. So thank you everyone for that. Just as I was, I'm sheepishly saying, as a coach, I can answer some questions. Also know that Jeff is in chat, so he could answer questions if they are there. But also just in a preparation that we're gonna be shifting to not having as much at the end of these. So awesome. So, and again, thank you to a big humanities bow, but both to Jeff for offering up the chance to guest host. I cannot say thank you enough for that. I really immensely appreciate that. Me, Lynn, and Lily, as always, rocking it there in the blue font with the wrench, fixing things. And then everyone else, I really appreciate the community as a whole. It's been a great chance to be part of that, and it really has been helpful, especially kind of in the situations that we're all in at the moment. I know my situation is much better than others, and so I want to make sure that I offer the great gratitude for that. Okay, Jeff McP, what do I mean by the how it isness? Okay, that's a colloquium I probably shouldn't use. Know your audience, right? So there's a felt sense that I would think that you can kind of, in essence, you're able to take your emotional inner temperature. That really is requiring kind of a unification of the mind body, not to get super existential, but it's really pulling together that mind body, and the idea that perhaps my body is clued into something that my brain isn't necessarily like hip to at this moment. And so the how it isness is kind of a variation to me of the Zen question of, kind of asking, what is this? Or sort of there's a sort of a state of inquiry that in the Zen world, they talk about kind of the what is this? Or my sensei likes to use what's up with that kind of as this, way of looking at it. And so I like to, when we're looking at the scale of moments, when Jeff talks about the time scales that are going on, we're looking at the scales of moments. If I have a practice that I'm looking to kind of shift a state, I kind of want to take these snapshots along the way so that I have kind of a felt sense of where I was at the beginning of a sit and where I ended up. And to me, that's kind of allowing the water to soak in for the felt sense that my practice is worthwhile. Yeah. So, and that sort of abiding aspect, right? You can think of also the abide as a bit of being able to know that we sit both at, when we're super high energy or when we're super low energy, we kind of find the ability to sit, knowing that there's not always a good time to sit. So we can stand up and go off and do walking meditation or go for a run, things like that. So All right, Lily and Jeff, did I miss any other reports, questions? Oh, Lily, best sit you've had in a while. That's great to hear. Yeah, I tried to give you a warning because, in my sound check, I realized that bell is somewhat jarring. So my apologies. Let's see. Okay. Well, again, words can't describe how much of a great honor it is. And yet, in the words of Dining Category Roshi, you have to say something. So hopefully the something that I've offered communicates that enough. Reminders. Okay, so time is a human construct, but it is about 42 minutes past the hour. And at 3 p.m. Eastern, so 3 p.m. Eastern, Jeff will be co-hosting on 10% Happier Live. You can find that at 10%.com/live. And so he'll be guest hosting. And then we'll be back here on Sunday, Sunday at 8 Eastern. I'm offering up Eastern times. And then hopefully can quickly translate those into where you're at the moment. Yeah, so Jeff's co-hosting, or not co-hosting, sorry. Jeff's guest hosting 10% Happier Live today. Dan's getting a day off, which is super great. And then, yeah, I think that's everything. Unless Lily, is there anything else I should mention? Okay. So thank you to everyone for joining. I really appreciate that. And again, Lily, Milan, Jeff, humanity's bow, gratitude. We'll see everybody.